I'm a bit shorter than Dave Egan. It is wonderful. I'm proud and glad to have been asked to come here today, to come here to my capital city and to address the people of my country. And I want to commend the people in WakeUpéiRe and the people who have gone to done the incredibly hard work, like Patrick Walsh, like the people who have compiled these information-packed documents and leaflets that were given people. It's an immense amount of work, and I really do commend you. So we're here today, as other people have said, to help raise awareness of the tragedy which is unfolding right in front of our eyes here in our beautiful country and across the world. This is happening in every country where these poisons were given to the populace and where unprecedented numbers of excess death and serious illness have been significant and sustained across the whole world since January of 2021. Our so-called national broadcaster and the print media, the legacy media, won't mention it. The political classes deny that it's happening, and the medical and scientific community, shame on them, are scrabbling desperately to provide alternative narratives to bury it from the public consciousness. But the truth will be told. It's visible in every community and in every home. Everybody knows that these things are toxic. And more importantly, as I say, I want to just commend the people for their tireless work and for the real sacrifices, not only financially, but of the time and energy of ordinary men and women who are here today, and especially the people involved in WakeUpéiRe, the work that they have done in raising awareness and in bringing this truth to the towns and villages of this country is really tremendous. So well done. We're here today to stand as witnesses to this ongoing pogrom against the Irish people. And I just wanted to briefly mention these hate speech laws, because what we are doing is criticising government policy, and that is now being criminalised by these so-called hate speech laws. And you will find that someone just messaged me to say that in Belfast now they're forbidding people to stand with megaphones in the town centre or give out leaflets. This is the next thing now which is coming. We live in a state that Stalin would be proud of. And I just want as well, I know it's not the subject of what we're here today, but to pay tribute to Enoch Burke, who has served almost 200 days in an Irish prison for refusing to acknowledge somebody else's fixed delusion, and this is now being criminalised, and what is happening is just unconscionable. Understand this. Your government is a government of occupation. They do not serve you. They serve a global corporate banking cabal. They hate and detest the Irish people, and they want you and your family dead. This is the agenda of the people who masquerade as government in Leinster House, and we need to be very clear about this. We need to read the documents, Agenda 2020 and Agenda 2030. We need to read the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We need to read the Coudenhove-Kalergi Plan and the Great Replacement and understand what is going on, because only when you understand the evil agenda can you understand that we will not comply. Their demonic program is well advanced. It seems in this country almost to have unfolded overnight. I can't recognise the country that I was born and reared in. From the debasement of human dignity in the legalised killing of unborn babies up until the time of their birth, the infanticide of babies regarded as disabled, as unworthy of life, the corruption of childhood innocence by dystopian and anti-scientific educational agendas, from the destruction of our young people's sense of rootedness in their community and their nation, the encouragement by their inaction of the authorities, in the rampant drug culture which destroys the lives in our towns and cities, by the deliberate dismantling of the family unit as the necessary building block of a healthy civilization. All of these things promote the totalitarianism of the New World Order, which will be what communism always was: serfdom and servility for the ordinary people, and extreme capitalism for the banks and the faceless entities who control them, the owners. Hitler, Stalin, Mao and Pol Pot killed 200 million people. And these excess deaths that we're seeing in our beloved country, our fellow humans, our fellow countrymen, are part of the same agenda, and the same dark forces are behind it. Read their documents, read them and believe what they mean. They're telling you what they're going to do. They want to reduce the global population from the current 7.8 billion to 500 million. It's written down. They want the 500 million, just enough serfs to keep them supplied with the stuff that they need and the comforts of life, but not to clog up their beaches and use their stuff, because we are the Untermenschen, we are the unworthy.
Disgusting.
Now, after all of this, we men and women across the world are expected to believe that our governments want us to be healthy by accepting what we now know is a militarily rolled out bioweapon and rolled out across the world by contracts using legislation introduced in times of war. These contracts are with the defence departments, not with the Department of Health. It tells you all you need to know. And many people took these toxins in good faith because we were told, we Irish, like other people, were subjected to the most sophisticated and well-coordinated psychological operation that ever was perpetrated upon the human race.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I, like other people, was angry and accusing people. But when you actually think about it, you know, the fact that so many people saw through it from the start is quite incredible. I mean, they even had an event 201 where they practiced a mere 4 months before the rollout of the real thing. They showed us exactly what was going to happen, and it was very much based upon psychological abuse, media manipulation, and a way of brainwashing and pushing people into a state of fear and terror so that they weren't able to make coherent decisions. And worse, they used our best human instincts, our love, our compassion, our fear of hurting or causing harm to other people. They used those things that make us what we are as a species against us, and people voluntarily rolled up their sleeves to inject themselves with a poison to protect their grannies. These people told our beautiful, innocent children that they were a toxin, that they were a danger to the people they loved. These people have no morality. These people are evil, demonic, satanic, dark forces, and we need to call it out for what it is. This is not healthcare, this is genocide. Now, as some of you may know, I studied medicine in Dublin in UCD. And although I'm from Derry, this is my national capital. My grandparents and great-grandparents on both sides of my family were born in a 32-county Ireland under British colonial occupation. We are told, the country was partitioned, and we had what we are told was a republic. But be very certain what happens in Leinster House right from the start has been approved at the highest levels of the British Cabinet and the British Privy Council. And again, all of these, we never had a free and independent nation here. Your government is a government of occupation.
Yeah.
They do not serve you, they serve global corporatism and the global banking cabal. They hate and detest the Irish people, and they want you and your family dead.
Yeah.
Do not comply. Just say no. We can win this. Now, as I say, I've been a doctor for over 40 years, and I went back to medicine to help out in what I saw was a crisis. And I bet the people that let me back wish they hadn't bothered, because I saw close up what was happening, and it was nothing. There was no pandemic. What there was genocide by protocol. What there was the complete removal of normal health care from people who needed it. And what there was the psychological and damage that we see in increased suicides, increased rates of alcoholism, and increased rates of domestic violence. And it's important to know that before the first dose was given, with the results that Patrick and others here have pointed out so well today, before the first dose of these toxins was given, the effects of this new technology, never before used in the human species, were known and understood. This was intentional. And indeed, they were safe and effective. They're safe for the owners and the elites who didn't take them. And they're effective because they did what they were designed to do, which is kill innocent people. Including RTE staff, I have no doubt.
They didn't take them.
The wonderful Dr. Simon Godek said, killing is a business model. The pharmaceutical industry is as interested in world health as the arms industry is in world peace. Ireland's own Professor Cahill did a podcast with Dave Cullen in May of 2020 and told us that the tragic events which we are today here to highlight were inevitable, that these things were going to happen. And now, almost 4 years later, we see she was correct. We are here today to stand in solidarity with the injured and bereaved, but to call for the holding to account of those responsible for the genocide. I read the papers that Professor Cahill referenced in the spring of 2020. And we knew then that mRNA technology had been trialled for over a decade, in fact for almost 20 years prior to the 2020 pandemic. And it was known that these substances were dangerous and indeed fatal. The laboratory rats showed what would happen, and they were dismissed as useless and too toxic to be considered for human use. The level of evil intent required to resurrect these failed technologies and use them to inject a whole planet against the disease which in no country in the world caused a statistically significant increase in all-cause age-standardized mortality. The mechanism of their action is in the name, messenger RNA. They send an alien message to your book of life, the human genome, your body's own innate and unique genetic code, which is different from every other person on this world, to make a protein which is not you. Our bodies are incredible immune systems, fearfully and wonderfully made by our divine creator. Learn to recognize self and other, native and foreign, from the earliest stages of our lives, when we are safe, growing and developing inside our mother's womb. So that when we're born, we're protected from the start. Until we get up to speed, we have our mother's antibodies from her blood and in her breast milk to get us over the first dangerous months, while our own immune system develops and meets foreign proteins and becomes and learns to identify them. These gene therapies, these biological countermeasures, usurp and hijack the body's own wonderfully balanced subcellular mechanisms and force us to produce a foreign protein. It's called the spike protein, but we don't know what it is because, and they say it's found in the capsule of the virus, which has never been isolated or cultured or known or shown to do anybody harm. We still don't know the ingredients of the vials and what they contain. And don't forget the wee green blobs, the wee sucker boys, the wee round boy with the sucker pads and all that. That is a computer-generated image dreamed up from some paid artist. This thing has never been seen. It's never been. The tests then which fueled the case-demic, the fear porn injected into every Irish home by RTE and BBC and all the papers on an hourly basis, year after year, and still going on, were known to be fraudulent from the start. When these foreign proteins, which your body is injected with a template to make, when these are expressed on the surface of your cells, we get the things that we see and are measuring and what people are suffering and dying from. When it's expressed in the cells of the heart, you get myocarditis. The linings of the small blood vessels, you get clots and strokes. The kidneys, kidney failure. The brain, again, strokes, early onset dementia, tumours, peripheral nervous system, reproductive organs, and we've heard about that. Every single part of your body, these things were supposed to stay at the injection site. We had a study within a month showing that they travel to every part of your body, including crossing the blood-brain barrier. These are bioweapons, and these are genocidal tools by a psychopathic elite who run our world. And they have to go. It's a bit cold for long speeches, so I'll try and wind it up here. So it's important to understand these side effects weren't unexpected or a surprise to those mandating them. They knew what they were doing. They were the reason for COVID. They were the reason for the lies around the pandemic in 2020. The disease did not cause the vaccine. The disease was made because the vaccine was required to carry out their filthy plans. The fact also that each injection was manufactured using technology based on the living cell lines derived from aborted human babies made the forced compliance of ordinary people in this barbarity an added victory to the demons because we were complicit in their evil plan. Your government are a government of occupation. They don't serve you. They serve a global, corporate and banking elite. They detest the Irish people and they want you and your family dead. And those who took the jabs for the best intentions and those who are now sick and bereaved must be our allies in this fight, and that is why it is so important to reach out to these people, because their stories are the stories which will change the lives. And there's a very brave man here today who is wearing a thing, and he's vaccine injured. He's lost an organ, and these are the people that really, that make people look back. I have some good news because I'm really struggling. Research indicates that those who had no symptoms at the time of vaccination may be safe. And also there are now protocols and detoxification programs which are cheap and available over the counter and which may help. Our bodies also, I think these people underestimate the beautiful machine that is the human body, and I do think that we will heal, thank God, that we will heal and repair, and they haven't factored that into their schemes. And the resistance is growing. The Great Awakening is happening. And I find it very heartening, for example, that people like Dr. John Campbell, whom I shouted and cursed at for a year because he was flogging the narrative, all of a sudden he is man enough to say I was wrong. And he is now podcasting almost daily. He's a brilliant communicator, and he is reaching tens of millions of people. And even those people downtown today who didn't want to take our leaflets aren't taking the Jags. They know. And I can understand if you've taken 2 or maybe 3 doses of a bioweapon that you don't want to read what it's going to do to you. And I have a certain amount of sympathy for the people who cross to the other side of the street, because these people are terrified. They as yet don't know who to blame. But as you gather from my presentation, I could suggest a few people they might like to go and speak to, like their TD. We need awareness, we need empathy, and we can only defeat the cabal if we stand together. And as the COVIDiocracy wanes in our consciousness, the narrative has now morphed into the utterly fraudulent and ridiculous climate scam. The myth that CO2, the gas of life, without which all plants and then consequently all animals are going to die, and nitrogen, which makes up 80% of our atmosphere, are toxins. And people believe it. This, of course, is to cause us to be fearful, to to make energy prices skyrocket, to end food independence, to put our farmers out of business. You will eat the bugs and you will be happy.
No, you eat the
The plan is to make us die of hunger, to freeze, and to fuel the resource wars, which we all already see starting to happen when you have the ethnic cleansing and genocide of the Palestinian people who have lived in that is their country and has been for aeons because of the Levant gas fields. And there are so many psyops around all of this, but what is happening is, again, depopulation and genocide. And it's going to come here. People, as I say, don't believe that. It is difficult to get your head around the depth of the evil for this. We need solidarity as never before. This is the battle for our lives. And solidarity and compassion are the only tools which our enemies do not understand and cannot counter. We see attacks on our faith, our culture, our language, our ancestral way of life from every angle, and the dismantling of our nation is accelerating. Ireland is one of the only nations in the world that never colonised anybody. We never killed and pillaged and subjected any other nation at any other time in our history. Instead, we've been living under the yoke of the British colonial project for more than 1,000 years, and I would argue that that never changed, despite the theatre that was the treaty. And every generation have resisted with their lives. Our people and priests died in their tens of thousands to preserve our faith and culture. And even in my lifetime, my friends in the north and neighbours suffered imprisonment and death for the Ireland proclaimed on the steps of the GPO in 1916. And yet we have people in this government of occupation and part of this agenda who dare to invoke the names of our dead heroes to promote their filthy lies.
Disgusting, shame on them.
And we who object, we who have concerns about our homes and families, about the country that we love, are slandered as racists and haters, an utter distortion of what goes on. I'm an old woman, and in my primary school class there was an Indian girl and a Polish girl. They spoke English in their home, they regarded themselves as Irish, and they loved this country, and they had an allegiance to this country. We feel the same about people who have come here to make this place their home, who want to settle and help and contribute to our societies, and we care not. And the people who are calling us racist know this. We care not about their colour, or, but there's a difference between that and thousands of undocumented and illegal young men who shred their passports in plain sight as they're entering the country. Now, maybe these people are all going to be grand, but I certainly think that it's right for Irish people to ask the question.
Absolutely.
I'm nearly done here. Oh yeah. So where do we go from here? I have 3 big suggestions. The first one is health. The important thing is that I disagree. I agree with the independent model of political representation. I think it's hugely important. But these decisions are not made in the Dáil. The Dáil is a dog and pony show. These people are puppets serving a much, much bigger agenda. But what we need to do is build from communities up. I'm a very strong proponent of the subsidiarity, which means that decisions should be taken as close to the people as possible, and that no bigger authority should adjudicate on matters which can be resolved locally. And certainly we need out of the EU, out of the World Health Organization, and out of the United Nations, and every person should be working towards those aims. We need a new health system. Don't take their poisons. We need to use the protocols which may help people, and we need to find, again, bottom-up, community-based, holistic, proper health systems. This is all doable, because the only way you can take these people down is to ignore them. We need to build back better in every town and city, in every community, and in every house in this country. It's the only way. Education. Padraig Pearse was on to something when he called the Irish education system the murder machine, and it's the same the world over. If every university in this country closed, I think we'd be better off, and I think the people who are coming out of them would be better off. The poor Waynes are coming out with degrees in applied victimology and degrees in how to extort public money to sort of verify their fantasies. It's the professions are trained to be competent panhandlers for the big corporations, and unfortunately I include my own profession of medicine in that. And the less said about the lawyers, the better, because the people we elect have much less power than the institutionalized bandits who run the legal system in this country. Yeah, we need to be together. We need to be together in this country, but we must understand that across the world, there are groups like us in every town, in every city. This is a global coup, but we are the global resistance, and every one of us must understand that we are part of an important and seminal movement which will make this world a better place. Amen. Your government is a government of occupation, but we can make them irrelevant. Lastly, but not leastly, I'm going to show my northern credentials here and say, with my fellow countrymen, there is no Catholic Protestant. We discovered this in the north recently, really through COVID. There is no unionist and nationalist. There is no right and left. There is no black and white. There is them and us. Yes. And that is it. So I finish by saying, no surrender. Chucky Arla.